Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Hello and welcome to Series 4 of Property Elevator. In this show, we give budding developers the chance to pitch their deals to our 5 seasoned property professionals, or who we call our property investment angels. These are John Howard, our chair angel, Helen Chorley, our number cruncher, Nicholas Wallwork, our creative thinker, Paul Mahoney, our investor from Down Under, and Ranjan, our YouTuber. Now, we know that property is not a game for the faint-hearted. With hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds at stake, yes, the rewards can be great, but if it goes wrong, it can go very wrong very quickly. This is why it's fantastic that not only could you walk away with the financial backing of one of our angels, but you also get their expert knowledge, which we know is just as important. So with that being said, let's do some deals.
If you can do that for that sort of money, then you better come do something for me.
I don't think there is enough in it to keep it as a long-term buy-to-let.
Why is she selling that so cheaply? Yeah. That sounds ridiculously below market value, which is great if you've got the deal.
If it turns out you actually can't do it for this for whatever reason, then you're going to be quite upset about that because it's going to start eating into your returns.
And that is exactly what investor relations is about.
So it's episode 1 of series 4 here today. We have got a lot of nervous but very excited pitches ready and waiting to go for our angels. Let's take you to the first deal. Alana, welcome to Property Elevator.
Hello, thank you. Nice to see you.
And tell us a little bit about the deal that you've brought then for our angels.
So it's a small block of 6 flats. I already own 3 of the flats in the block.
Okay.
And I want to purchase the other 3 and the other share of the freehold.
Excellent. Okay, so it sounds quite a simple.
Very straightforward.
Yeah, you know the area well. You've obviously got your 3 already there.
Yep. And I've been a landlord in the area for over 17 years.
Right.
So I've got a really good grasp of the local market.
Excellent. And so how much are you after as an investment today?
£400,000.
Great. All right, well, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone in particular that you'd like to do the deal with, or would you be happy with anybody?
I think actually they've all got the expertise that I'm looking to tap into, so I'd be very happy to speak to any of the investors.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, I've got my fingers crossed for you.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck in there. Just be yourself, relax, take your time, and I'm sure it will be great.
Lovely, thank you.
Alana, thank you so much for coming in today. We're all excited to hear what you have to say about this deal. Over to you.
I live in a town called Hertford, which is about 30 minutes away from here. And I am a professional landlady. I've got a number of properties and I've been doing that for over 17 years. So I'm very well acquainted with the local rental market.
Brilliant.
This property here was converted into 6 flats in the 80s. I own 3 of the flats, 3 of the bigger flats in this property, and another lady owns the other 3 and the other 50% share of the freehold. Now, she has agreed with me to sell me her 3 flats and her share of the freehold. I'm here today looking for an investment of £400,000 so that I can complete on this deal. It's currently set up as 6 flats, and they've all been rented out consistently. I've had literally no voids in 17 years, bar maybe a couple of weeks
Fantastic.
of somebody coming in, somebody going out. However, I haven't increased the rents in several years, so I know that they're massively under-rented, that those rents all need to go up probably between £250 to £300 a month per flat.
Okay.
Now, I had a flood in this property in October, so currently it's completely empty. All of the tenants have moved out and gone elsewhere. I'm in negotiations with the insurance company to have the property put back under the cost of the insurance.
Yep.
I believe that I will continue to rent it as 6 individual letting units and maximise on the rents. However, you may well have better knowledge, or you may know things that I don't know, and there may be a different avenue to take that would be ultimately more profitable. Next door went on the market on the 21st of January of this year for £1,350,000 and is today sold. I owe £270,000 for my flats. I've negotiated to purchase from the other lady party £390,000. So my combined costs are £660, I believe.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of profit in this building.
Why is she selling that so cheaply?
Yeah.
That sounds ridiculously below market value, which is great if you've got the deal. But
Well, she's a little bit older than me
okay,
by a decade or so. She doesn't live in the
so
area.
31 then.
Yes. And she doesn't live in the area. It's very inconvenient for her. And bearing in mind that we've had a flood and they discovered asbestos in the building. So all of the ceilings have been taken out. All of the flooring has been taken
Is that
out.
across the whole block? All 6 flats are
Bar
currently...
one that wasn't affected by the water. We've agreed this figure because she wanted to go to auction.
Right.
And she said, let's sell it for 750. And I'm like, well, if we hit 750, it's got to be sold. I'm not happy with that. I think that's too little. At the very least, it's got to be 800. And then I thought, I need to do more due diligence on this because I wasn't feeling comfortable.
Are they all one-bedroom flats?
No. So we've got, this is a one-bedroom flat.
Yep.
This is a large studio, which could easily be a one-bedroom
Should be
flat
one
because
bedroom,
of
yeah.
this room here. This is a studio. And then there's 1, 2, 3 one-bedroom flats and 3 studios. But certainly that could be 4 one-bedroom flats and 2 studios quite easily.
Okay.
And which of those are hers? Which of the studios and the one beds?
Okay, so the other lady owns this front ground floor and 2 properties at the back. So she owns a 1-bed and 2 studios.
Okay.
So you mentioned you're looking for 400,000 of investment from us. What's your proposition with regards to what we get for that? Given that you already own 3 of the 6 and the 3 of the 6 are up for sale, are we buying into this building as a whole, or are we helping you buy the new 3?
Well, I guess you're helping me buy the new 3 and the remaining freehold, and then your expertise on
Deciding what to do with it.
the best manoeuvre.
Best manoeuvre.
Yeah.
I think some of that manoeuvre might depend on what your tax situation is.
Right. I have spoken to my accountant
Good.
about this.
Excellent.
Currently, I live with my partner, and I don't actually have a residential property. I sold
Right.
it. So I could make that into one property, go and live there, and then sell it with no capital gains.
Is it worth more as one unit or the 6? Because generally people buy the bigger to make into smaller because the sum of the parts adds up to more than the one.
And to add to that question, what was the neighbouring property? Was it one house or was it 6 flats?
One
in the same
house.
layout? Right, so it's a different proposition then.
Yeah, and it has got a large extension.
Has it?
Yes.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that. Okay.
I'd also just look into that tax advice.
Yeah.
From my understanding is whilst ever that property is being used as a buy-to-let, you are liable for capital gains tax. So even if you moved into this property now, you would only save for the period that it's your primary residence. You would still be liable for the period that it was an investment.
That's interesting, Paul. I didn't know that.
That's my understanding too.
Subject to an accountant signing that off. We're not giving any.
Well, I'm not an accountant, but
legal or
that's
tax
my
advice.
understanding, and I've asked that question multiple times.
Yes.
Now, Paul,
it's
you're absolutely
proportionate,
correct.
isn't it?
There is another issue as well, which is if you convert it back to a house, you'd have to go for planning permission to convert it back to 6 flats. And I doubt whether you'd get 15, 16 square metre flats under the current regime.
Like I say, there may be things that I don't know. I haven't explored the HMO.
Oh, don't talk to me, please, Alana, about HMOs.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, he's just ruled himself out then, hasn't he,
Okay.
Alana?
at the end of the day, we're all sick. Well, I'm certainly sick to death hearing about people doing HMOs. Others in this room make a lot of money out of HMOs. So I'm
It's not an area I've got any expertise in. It's
me
not
neither.
something
Me
that
neither.
was
I
on my
gave it up a
mind.
long time ago.
What's your main goal with this property? Is it to make as much money as possible from it?
I had been going down the route that I would buy the other 3. I'd have it under one stewardship, one ownership.
sure.
I would refurbish it to as not ridiculous quality, but appropriate levels for
it's
the
a good
area.
quality area, Hertford.
And
so
then go
it
for
needs
really
that.
good rents and hold it for at least 5 years.
Now, this is unusual. Ranjan has got his calculator out, so he's obviously serious, and it's close enough. I mean, he only does 10 miles from his home, so this is close enough nearly for him. I'm not saying where he lives because we wouldn't want all the paparazzi there and everything else, but okay. I can fund the whole purchase. We put yours in at £400,000, so we put it into a joint venture company. So I will buy your side out. I will buy your other occupier's side out. So we own it together.
Yep.
I'll then pay for all the refurbishment as one property.
Okay.
With an extension if we have to.
Okay.
And then we'll sell it for 1.3, 1.4 million on the open market as one house. You don't need to worry about renting and having voids and that's all gone. I'm offering you the opportunity of sitting back, relaxing, working with me to our mutual benefit, where you put no more money in anything, you get the money back that you can reinvest in something else prior to us then refurbishing and then sharing the profit 50-50 with me. That's my offer to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Well, you see, John hasn't been listening because you don't want to sit back. You're an active landlord. This is your business. You don't need someone else to come and run it for you. You need some expertise to help you with some of the gaps, possibly some expertise in the funding, certainly some expertise in designing the building that will maximise your income over the next 5 years. And you've said you want to hold it for 5 years. You don't want to sell it.
I think Alana said, if you don't mind me saying, that she's open to other suggestions. So don't be so presumptuous.
Before I was rudely interrupted, Alana, I think that I could offer you all of that. I'd be an ideal business partner with you. We've developed over 120 studio-like blocks. We build to rent blocks just like this. Currently building 32 units in Reading. So this is exactly what I do, is maximising this kind of space to its full potential. And I'd help you as much as you needed help with, and I'd step back if you wanted me to, and I could mentor you through it if you wanted to be more hands-on. So that's what I'd be able to offer you on a 50-50 basis.
So what are you offering?
On a 50-50 basis.
It's very vague to what you're actually offering.
I'm offering any money needed to top this deal up, and a 50-50 on the profit share. Putting your site in at 400 as well. So same offer as John, but I would work very differently.
How do you get the profit though if it's not being sold?
Exactly.
I'm happy to stay in the deal, refinance at the end and stay in the deal for as long as you want.
Okay.
There's that much juice in it.
Yeah.
Existing, that refinance and you get it all out, right?
It all
I'd sell
sounds
if you
a bit-
want to sell, I'd stay in if you want to stay.
It all sounds a bit messy to me, Nicholas.
I'll just let you know, I'm struggling to come up with anything kind of more creative. These are the creative ones. I'm the doer. I'm the pragmatist. These are the creative ones.
Yeah.
And I think you can get much cheaper. I think you already probably have cheaper money than I would be prepared to do. So it's not for me, but thank you for coming along today. And I think you've got 2 great options already, and there may well be more.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, look, I was going to say exactly the same thing as what John said, to be honest. Put the whole thing in, refurb it, sell it, and then we're out. I'd be happy to do what Nick said as well, you know, refurb it, refinance the money back out, and I'm out of it, or stay in it, really. You know, either would work. Similar to what Helen said, I'm struggling to think of anything, a different offer to what they've offered, but I'd be happy to offer what either John or Nicholas offered.
Ranjan.
I don't think there is enough in it to keep it as a long-term buy-to-let for a partner to be involved, because the yield will be sub 5%. I don't think this is a convert to a single house, and some of the units may be difficult to sell on as individual flats.
Too small.
Because they're too small. To be perfectly honest and blunt, I think this is actually a very good proposition for you to buy those 3 flats refurb them all as rental flats and do this yourself. I think to make an offer as a JV, I think there's not enough in it to share. That's my view and assessment of this.
So, Alana, you've got 3 offers. You've got one from the most experienced person in total. You've got Nicholas, who's very experienced in doing micro units, which are now not allowed anymore under the new government rules. And with Paul, he's just jumped on the back of myself and Nicholas. Exactly what we said. You know, anybody can follow someone else who's very experienced because he knows ultimately that I know what I'm doing, and he's just copied.
Here we go.
He's just paste and sent. Is it paste?
Alana, if John would take a breath.
Copy and pasted, John.
If John would just take a breath.
Alana, he's just copied and pasted I went first, if you remember. I'm the one who's confident
He's got
about
big lungs.
Working together. So they're the 3 offers you have.
Alana, the reality is all 3 of us have done this type of thing before. Any one of us would be a good partner for you. The offers are pretty much the same, so you just need to pick someone.
Quite frankly, I would say yes to any one of you. So having to choose is really difficult.
Yeah.
How about this? I'd be willing to share it with Nick because I know John doesn't share.
Wow, okay.
Would that be complicated though?
I would be happy to do that. So you've actually got 4 offers now. You could take Paul and myself individually or together, or John. So that's 4 different offers.
My instinct says take your offer.
Thank you. Is that a definite yes?
Yes.
Amazing.
Sorry.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to working with you. We can do a lot with that bit, will we?
Okay. Thank you. I'm going purely on instinct.
I have to say, I am absolutely gutted that Alana didn't go with me. I thought I offered the most sensible, professional, simple way to get the best capital out of it, and I think, Ranjan, you agreed with me, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I don't. I do not think the best home for this is as a single home.
That's because you're obsessed with splitting everything up about 55,000 times. It's a very simple deal. It's in a lovely area. It's a very simple deal. These two, in the end, ganged up against me. Helen should have made. Why you didn't offer on that, I don't know, Helen.
I am kicking myself because as soon as Paul said he'd share it with
you
Nick,
forgot
I'm
about
like,
sharing.
I should have done that.
I should have explained what sharing meant, and she would have done that. If I had explained it properly. She thought it was complicated sharing.
That's a good point.
It's not at all.
It is complicated sharing. That's why I don't do it.
Good point.
That's why I don't share.
We can sort that stuff out. You know, what I really wanted to give her was an option which let her do exactly what she wanted with some good advice on top, rather than us pushing what we want.
Exactly.
That was where I was coming from.
But I know what's best
with my
on that
offer.
deal. I know what's best on that deal, and it's not what you're doing.
Yeah. Well,
In my view.
that's your opinion.
Well, it is my opinion.
Let's
It's
see
my
what it
opinion
sells
with
for.
43 years experience. So, there's a lot of experience there.
Great, so Alana, welcome back. Was it good news, bad news?
Very good news.
Very good news, great, tell
Yeah.
us more.
In total, 4 offers.
Wow,
3 individual offers and 1 joint offer.
amazing.
Which is very daunting because it's really difficult to make a choice. So in the
Yeah,
end,
absolutely, because they all bring their own positives and their own pluses to each deal, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah, so who did you end up going for?
Nick.
Okay,
Yep.
really good. Are you happy with your decision?
I am, because I've acted, I think, on instinct,
Yep.
and it felt right.
Yeah.
I think I could have accepted all of the offers.
Yeah, of
I really
course.
could, but in the end, you do have to make a choice, and it's not easy.
Omar, welcome to Property Elevator.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So tell us a little bit about the deal that you've brought for our angels today.
I'm here to present a commercial to residential conversion opportunity.
Okay.
The property is in Bromley in Kent, and I'm hoping that the angels will like the deal.
Great. You're kind of around that area as well,
Correct,
aren't you?
yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be nice and easy to get to and to keep on top of it, hopefully.
That's the plan, exactly, yeah.
Good. Is there anyone in particular that you'd like investment from today?
Not anyone in particular. I mean, I think the Ranjan will hopefully like the deal, being
Yeah.
commercial property,
Yeah.
but hopefully the numbers will speak for themselves.
So we've got Omar coming in first, and I think he was on the live show we did.
He was.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah, landlord investor show, Billingsgate. Yeah.
And I think we all wanted to invest in him
I have a
that
bone
day.
to pick with him.
He rejected
Yeah.
us, didn't he?
He rejected us. We don't like that, do we?
Well, technically, he didn't reject me.
Well, of course
He
he
only
didn't.
wanted
No one's
you,
ever
Helen.
rejected you, Helen.
We
We
didn't
know
reject
that.
me either, but you know.
You weren't there.
Oh, that's why, yeah.
We had to battle on without you, which of course was
Yeah,
tough.
it must have been really tough.
It was really tough.
We missed you.
But it went a bit quicker, didn't it, if you remember? So let's get Omar in and see what he's got this time for us. Omar, thank you very much for coming in today and your presentation. If everyone else does such a good one as you do, we'll be flying. Very impressive presentation you've brought us. So
Thank you.
Over to you.
So I'm here today to present a commercial to residential conversion opportunity. I've sourced the property. It was actually advertised via the open market. It was a bit of a tricky situation in that the sellers are trying to wind down a business, and so there are two owners that have been disputing a little bit about when they wanted to wind that business down. There have been offers far in excess of the price I've managed to agree the property for. So this has been, the purchase price has been agreed at £800,000, which is to purchase the freehold of the commercial building, which is made up over basement, ground, first, second and loft space. And then to the rear of the building, there is also a detached warehouse unit, which is over 2 floors. The opportunity here is to use permitted development rights, Class G and Class M, to create some residential dwellings in the building. Keep the commercial shop frontage, which is currently Zone A, in a very affluent area with parking right outside the commercial premises. Find a good tenant.
Where is it?
It's in Bromley in Kent. It's actually in a location called Hayes, which is quite a desirable part of Bromley. I know the area very well, went to school in Hayes as well, and so I know I've got a very good eye on the property prices. In my comparables on the last page, actually, one of those is a property that I sold myself, which was just a quick flip that I did for a residential flat. I've put together a pack which demonstrates the stages of which this investment would work. Obviously, it's got permitted development involvement in it, and it's also got full planning depending on which route I go down. There's potential to title split part of it off and sell it off at auction, which is the more risky part I potentially don't want to be involved in. I've got an architect, planning consultant, finance lined up, the full works really. So invite you to ask questions.
Can you just talk us through
Sure.
the proposal if we just stick with the permitted development aspects? Because
Correct,
obviously
yeah.
that's certain.
If you look in the pack, there's option 1 and option 2.
Yeah.
Option 1 is the route that I wish to go down, which is just to exploit the permitted development rights. And ultimately, what that will gain is it will use Class MA to cut the shop in half and create a studio flat at the back of the shop, keeping the Zone A frontage. And then it will allow Class G to create 2 flats above the shop. One will be a 2-bedroom, 61 square metre flat, and the other will be a 1-bedroom, 55 square metre flat. I have explored creating a third flat on the top floor, which if you look at the image of the property, there is actually a window up there and it's full head height. But that would be a full planning application. So instead, there is potential to put a dormer up there and just add a further bedroom should the costs stack up to make the top floor flat a split level mason, basically.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Can you talk us through the figures then on that option 1?
Option 1, the only way, in my view, the way option 1 would work is the rear warehouse unit is the risky element. It's there's no permitted development rights on that particular unit. It would require full planning to convert it into residential. It could be let out to a commercial tenant. So my proposal involves selling the rear warehouse unit at auction with a computer-generated image to show the potential of what that unit could be worth. So to sell that bit off, there is also a basement under the shop, which is 70 odd square metres, and it has full head height. It's 2.3 metres floor to ceiling head height, and from the rear of the building you actually access the basement on the straight level because it drops down to the rear. So I have had a feasibility study on the basement. The planning consultant felt it would be risky to obtain residential there, and he felt the planners wouldn't like it. So the view for the basement is, again, to sell that off and to not take the risk of the planning with the basement.
At auction?
I'm a bit of an auction specialist, John. I don't know if you know that already, but I believe
you say you are.
Okay, yeah. I believe I could achieve 100,000 to sell that at auction with a pending planning application.
Okay. And the rear warehouse?
The rear warehouse, I believe I could achieve 200,000 with a pending planning application and a nice CGI. So the acquisition would be 800,000 to purchase, title split 2 parts, sell them off, bring in 300,000. We would then claim stamp duty sub-sale relief to just pay stamp duty on the 500,000, not the 8.
I'm not sure that works like that.
I've run that past my solicitor, and I've done it many times as well.
I hear what your solicitor says, and he may be right, but having just had experience of a similar situation, my advice was different to that. But carry on. Not a lot of
no, that's absolutely fine. I think the intricacies of the stamp duty sub-sale relief would depend on the day in which completion took place. So the idea here, to line it all up, would be that the warehouse and the basement would sell on the same day that I would complete on the purchase, and that is how you would gain the stamp duty sub-sale relief. The idea would be the purchase price would then come at 500,000 for the freehold interest, and you would have the ability to create 3 flats, all within the 56-day prior notification period with no planning risk.
And the resales in those 3 flats are?
325,000 on the 2-bedroom first floor flat.
Yeah.
300,000 on the top floor flat. That's excluding any full planning application on the dormer, the loft.
Yeah.
And I believe I've put 200, or maybe I think 200 on the flat at the back.
So the ground floor.
Is it 250?
Yeah,
250. Sorry, apologies, 250. That's a 39 square metre studio at the back.
What are you going to spend?
155,000.
In total?
Yeah.
On converting 3 flats?
Correct. I run a construction company for a living.
Well, you better talk to me afterwards. If you can do that for that sort of money, then you better come and do something for me. Because I think that's light in the present situation.
So we're selling off
all of it.
The warehouse and the basement on day 1 of completion.
Correct, yeah.
So there's a bridging loan for 60% of the purchase price that's left.
Yeah.
So I guess you're looking for funding for the 40% balance, and also
that's what
the
show's
build
about,
cost,
Ranjan?
Yeah, I know that's what I'm just clarifying.
That's what the show's
for.
about.
No,
we fund the deals.
No, I know we're funding the deals, but we're trying to clarify how much and the portion of the timing. Yeah.
Fair enough.
And that's correct. Yeah.
I'm looking for 200,000 towards the acquisition, which is the 40% deposit. I have a bridging provider lined up at 60% loan to value because it's commercial property and there's an element of development.
Not being an expert in permitted development rights, can you help me understand why we need options 1 and 2?
Option 2, basements can't be done under permitted development, and they are tricky to convert because of light and amenity space and parking and that sort of stuff. So there's no PD rights for basements. And the rear warehouse unit, depending on the use class, will depend on whether it would fall under PD or not, and the use class on that particular warehouse doesn't fall under permitted development. So they require full planning, whereas the actual existing envelope of the commercial building being the back of the shop and the uppers, there are PD rights that you can...
Yeah, no, I think I get that, but isn't your idea of selling those 2 things anyway, immediately?
In option 2, that would be to go for full planning for the warehouse unit, which still has a very good chance of getting that approved. I have other pending planning applications in Bromley, which have taken 3 months for validation and a further 3 months.
So is the reason for option 2?
Appalling, isn't it?
So we would wait a minimum of 6 months to determine whether the warehouse could be developed. And that for me was, and actually the vendor would be happy for us to submit that planning application on exchange of contract.
Well, you wouldn't have a choice.
They're very happy for us to
But
do
there's
that.
no choice. Once
But-
you've exchanged,
yeah.
you can put any application in. I can put an application on Buckingham Palace if I want to.
Put that in
can't I?
now without exchanging on it.
Without, as long as you notify them. Well, it
But
needs a lot of work done.
It's the risk element of that planning application being refused,
Yes.
which there is, that is the rear of a shop, the saleability of those units as well, and someone may look to take that warehouse unit just for storage, and that may suit them better.
I think the other thing is, of course, on your figures here, the profit on GDV for option 1, which is minimum risk with the PD, is 34%, and you're doing 33% on option 2 with all the risk.
And that's why I was saying, what's the point in option 2?
There's just no point, I think, in option 2.
Okay.
But it's good that you've explored different exits.
Just a quick technical note on PD. You can do Class MA on basements as long as it has natural light. That's the main thing. It's just that your one is all enclosed, so you couldn't.
Yeah, I mean there is a door at the rear, but there's no windows in the basement.
Looking at the floor plan, it wouldn't work on yours.
Couldn't
you put windows in?
Not yet.
Sorry?
Couldn't you put windows in?
You can't do any modifications to the external envelope as part of the PD.
Okay.
If it had windows.
Yeah, but you could.
Can you make the door a window?
You put the door as a glass door and then apply for the permitted development.
You could do, but with that door, there just isn't enough
Enough
for the floor
light to go
space.
through.
You know,
And
there's
also-
a formula of amount of window to floor space.
And also, Ranjan, the other thing that I factored in with the basement is, although the floor to ceiling height is there, it's not ideal at 2.3, and ideally you'd want to go
Dig the
down a
floor
bit,
out, and
then you need to tank the whole thing, and there's just the cost would rack up to actually create the space there. So
But you're getting a decent margin without
Yes.
on option 1.
Well, is that your opinion then?
No, on the figures that he's quoted. The
Oh,
build
right.
cost is another issue which we can explore in a way.
Nicholas,
I have a few questions.
Yeah.
Why have you gone for, in your plans, just a one bed? You've gone for a sort of 55 square metre one bed on, I think you said the first floor?
Minimum space standards for a 2-bedroom are 61 square metres. So 55 square metres, it's theoretically it's big enough, isn't it, to be a 2-bed, but it doesn't meet the space standards.
Yeah. Study room?
Yeah, but if it's PD, do you need to meet the national space standards on there?
No, you do. There are ways of optimising that.
Yeah, the architect said actually what would be a good plan would be to have a small study office space.
That's what I just said.
Correct. You wouldn't be able to list it as a bedroom, but it would technically be a small bedroom.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've done that quite a few
But then
times.
the other option is to add the dormer, which would create the top floor would then become 71 square metres, I believe, split level.
Under planning.
But that would require a full planning application.
But there's no reason why you wouldn't get that, is there?
One of the things that filled me with confidence is this is probably one of the only shops within the parade that doesn't have 2 flats above the existing commercial there. So
plenty of
the
people
precedent
have
is
done
set.
it.
It also has its own access from the front. There's a separate door,
Great, yeah.
which
Essential, because
Which
you don't
is
want to
really
come.
good
You
for
don't want to
saleability.
come around the back because it's always a poor.
correct for saleability to sell these on. It's appealing, isn't it, to have your own front door?
Much more.
And you said the back does too. The back, the basement does from the back too.
The basement would have the rear access, yeah.
Sorry.
So the 2 flats above would be access from the front. The flat at the back of the shop, that would have rear access. We have looked at trying to design an access from the front, but it wasn't possible.
Talk to me about timescales on this.
So I explored the option of exchanging with this delayed completion.
Yeah.
The vendors, we've built a very good relationship. I've been in to see them 6 or 7 times now. I know their life story. I explored the option of potentially, and they're happy to do this, to give me a key undertaking for works to actually create these flats before I even complete. The solicitors, as always, have stuck their oar in and said that it would be quite risky for me to potentially do that, and also risky for them. So we've been toying with those conversations.
So obviously it's the £200,000 investment that you're looking for. You seem to know this development back to front, which is great. You're experienced. You don't seem to be short of a few bob. Is it just the money you're looking for from us, or is there anything else?
I haven't converted a commercial property into residential as of yet. It doesn't scare me. I've done lots of soundproofing and all sorts of complex stuff already. But the idea here would be to get someone who's got some experience in this to hopefully put the funding in and also give me a bit of guidance throughout the process. So.
All right, cuts it down a bit then.
Just one final question. Shop's vacant, yeah? The whole lot is
The
being
shop
bought
will be
vacant.
vacant. At the moment, the sellers are currently trading on the ground floor. It's where they've run a business there for 30 odd years.
Yes,
So.
but it will be sold with vacant
Correct,
possession.
it'll be vacant possession, yeah.
Why are they so nice to you?
You
It's
know,
Not everyone's like you, Nicholas.
Yeah, but
I think
what I don't understand, they've had higher offers.
Yeah,
There's
no,
all this PD.
it's a great
right?
question.
It sounds too good to be true.
I'm a local lad. They've actually had offers in excess of 100,000 more than mine. Those people weren't flexible on the terms. I came in and said, I can be as flexible as you like. You're running down a business. Do you need to stay here for longer?
Okay.
Do you want me to exchange now and complete in a year or 6 months or 2 years? You tell me what the terms are, but this is my price. And it was advertised via a very well-known estate agent. And we spoke about going to the same school together. There's been a real good build of rapport.
Well done.
And, and that is exactly what investor relations is about. Building that rapport, actually listening to what they want, asking the right questions and establishing that trust.
It's all had an airing. You've all had chances to ask the right questions. Who would like to go first, whether or not they'd like to work?
Well, I think I can go
Omar.
pretty quickly. This isn't my area of specialty, so it's not. I'm not the investor for you.
You missed this, didn't you? You should have bought this yourself, mate. Your area.
I'm still thinking about it.
He's not got it exchanged yet.
I'm still thinking about it.
You're highly investable. I would actually love to work you as a development partner. But I think what you need is a constant flow of capital past this deal. And the better people placed that are at that stage in their careers.
For me, again, very, very, very investable. I'm not worried about you doing this deal. This is the sort of deal we do all the time. You are sweating it hard, which I always concern myself. You know, this PD, and whatever Ranjan might say about PD, and I think he will hopefully agree with me that, you know, these councils are now getting sharper. They're getting to understand it better, and they will put as many spokes in the wheel as they can to stop it happening sometime. I would want to see it being bought at 700,000, not 800. Because there is a risk in you getting the 100 and the 200 back and the resales. So to de-risk it further, for me, I'd want the deal at 700,000. So for me today, this one isn't for me today.
Thank you.
You just got to know this stuff, that's all it is. And I don't share these guys' pessimism about PD. I think it's going to take a little bit of time before councils start to understand it enough to hit back, and if you know what you're doing, you will win. I'm very pleased by the way you've answered a lot of the questions, because there are a lot of nuances in the PD which your planning consultants have advised you correctly on. I think you're very investable. I'd like to work with you. I'm just going to offer you a very simple and fair offer, which is to offer you the equity money that you need for a 50-50 split. That's on the basis of we cap the building cost to what you've put in your estimate, and on the basis of doing option one. So I'll be happy to work with you.
Thank you.
All right, so that's one offer you got. Congratulations. Helen?
As the guys have said, super investable. I was really gutted that we didn't get to do a deal at the live back in October.
Don't hold grudges though, do you?
No.
I
mean, this is ticking so many of my boxes. The risk mitigation that you've done, you've answered every question. It's so thorough. This is an exemplary pack. So I am happy to match Ranjan's offer.
Okay, excellent.
Up to you to decide what you'd like to do.
Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it all, and you're all an inspiration. On this occasion, I'd like to take Ranjan up on his offer.
Congratulations.
Brilliant.
Well done.
Well done, Omar. We can hug now.
Hugely investable.
Yeah.
Really
Omar,
investable,
very,
yeah.
very, very decent man. Very investable.
Yeah, got
I
it.
was a bit concerned about the resale values. And the PD thing, I hear what you say, and you're the expert on PD, Ranjan, but...
He'd already discounted he'd taken 10% off the resale values already though, so they weren't...
No, they
Well, he
weren't.
runs an
Toppy.
estate agency, so I do expect his resale values are reasonably well thought.
One thing about, what's the one thing about estate agents They're all optimistic.
They're all optimistic.
Every morning they pull the curtains back in their bedroom and it's a sunny day. And that's
to be right.
John,
So they sell units.
I get that.
Don't you
but
run
the
a series of
location-
estate agents?
I do, and I
yeah,
know.
thought so.
I employ them all. I know what they're like.
The thing is, the location is good. It's in a cracking location. The entry is from the front, and the layout of the flats is good, which will help the resale value.
The front is also the key, and the fact that you're experienced, the PD. And I thought, Paul, you were very honest and said, look, it's not really your bag.
Well, what he was looking for, I can't offer him, so there's no point messing about.
So, how'd you get on?
Yeah, really well, thank you.
Good.
I managed to get 2 offers from the Angels, Helen and Ranjan. So I did do the deal with Ranjan.
Yeah.
Very pleased. I got the full funding that I was
Excellent.
looking for.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property. Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Craig, welcome to Property Elevator.
Thank you very much for having me.
I can detect a little accent there. Where
Yes,
are you
I'm from South Wales.
Okay, and do you live there and
Yeah,
invest there?
I live in Vesta, yeah. Obviously, I've done a few projects in London as well.
Okay.
And Cambridge.
Brilliant.
So I've
Tell
travelled
us-
about.
Great. Tell us a little bit about your background then in property.
Background, basically, I was 16, 17 years now in construction. Started my own business 2 years ago.
So how much investment are you after today then?
The land itself is up for 190,000. Obviously, if the investors come in on that, obviously we could get the development fund from the back of that. Or if they want to just fund the whole deal, it's 550,000 then for the development costs.
Yep.
On top of the 190 for the land. So
Brilliant.
yeah, that's the deal as it is.
And what's your expected GDV?
GDV is around about 1.25 to 1.3 million.
Okay.
So there's a nice amount in the pot there.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'll speak to you when you get out.
Thank you. Cheers. Speak to you soon.
Thanks.
Craig, thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
We're all intrigued to know where this deal is. If you can tell us all about it, that'd be great.
Well, my name's Craig. Obviously, I come from South Wales. This deal is actually in Pontypridd, which is about 10 minutes from Cardiff city centre. It's in Treallo. It is the village of Treallo. The land itself is 190,000. Development costs are going to be around 550,000. And the GDV is 1.29.
And what do you do yourself? Are you a full-time
Well,
property person?
16, 17 years now in construction. 2 years ago, I took the jump and actually set my own business up. Got a couple of boys on board with me, and we've been doing, over the last, say, 12 to 16 months, we've done 5 renovations. We're on the 5th one now.
I'm just looking at some of the costs here. We've got a lot of itemisation on some of the finance costs, even down to telegraphic transfer fees of £30, which is very
Try
nice
to be a
know.
bit thorough. Just
Very
for our
professional.
We
members.
like
We
detail.
like detail.
I just wanted a bit more breakdown of the overall build cost, I guess, of £550,000. What's
Yeah,
the
obviously,
stages of that?
we're looking at around about 100,000 per bungalow. That's with a contingency, and then obviously the infrastructure would be the remaining. Obviously, my background is groundworks and civils.
Yep.
So the infrastructure is a massive cost to most sites.
Yep.
But with my expertise and obviously the boys I've got around me as well,
Exactly.
we can keep that cost right down there.
not.
And what stage is this at? Have you found this site? Have you secured planning?
I found this site back in November 2019. Obviously, I did get involved. I looked at the planning myself through the experience I got. I thought changes could be made because it was originally it was 4-bed, 2 3-beds, and a 2-bed. Well, obviously, I've now increased that per bed per house. So there's now 5-bed, 2 4-beds, and a 3-bed. Obviously, got into the attic space and done it that way because the guy I bought the land off, the vendor, he's took it off the market for me. It was up for 220,000. I got him down to 190, and then I asked him if he could take it off the market so I could spend some time on it, which I've spent nearly a year on it.
Is there a particular reason why you've gone for bungalows as opposed to 2-storey
That was what the original planning was. I didn't want to go back in again for other planning. Bungalows will sell well in Wales. They're a really good thing to have in Wales, to be honest.
5-bedroomed bungalows. I take it there's a chalet bungalow. I'm assuming that they're actually 2-storey houses really because they're in the eaves. The bedrooms are in the eaves.
Story and a half is classed.
Story and a
isn't it?
half, yeah.
Yeah. The problem we've got is because the planning was declined originally by the original vendor. He's eventually got it 5 years later. But the big thing on the planning was because his neighbours just below
Yeah.
It was the overlooking their garden.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
So now we've had to change it. So the attic bedrooms, the windows will be on the back.
Yeah,
So they won't actually
no
look at the
overlooking.
front.
And how many bedrooms are there upstairs?
1 bedroom upstairs.
Okay, so they really are quite big bungalows, aren't they? Is that optimum size, do you think? Or do you think you can build smaller to get a better return on your money? Or do you think that's about right?
It's about right, to be fair. It's like, obviously, you're paying out for the materials and stuff anyway. You are saving that much. And because I'm getting so much material, I'm having it cheaper anyway.
And therefore, so in total, the square footage is roughly 6,000 you're building, something like that?
Something like that, yeah. There is another plot of land to the side of this as well.
Yeah.
Which is, it's actually up here.
Yep.
And it's pretty much the same size as this, but
right.
The planning is on this at the moment.
Okay.
So we've got purchase price of 190, build cost of 550 plus the finance cost. Am I right in saying that you're looking at putting in a deposit toward the land and financing the balance? Is that right?
That was my original plan,
Okay.
but obviously now I've been invited to the show.
Okay, so
I
you'd
thought
like
maybe,
the 190 from us?
Yes.
Or I assume you'd be open to financing
yeah,
it if
exactly.
it's available.
Like,
Yep,
if you put half the money in and we get the other half on bridging, and then we get a development finance off the back of that.
And then the build cost plus the other costs being just shy of 600 grand or thereabouts. Were you going to finance that as well?
Development finance.
Yeah, okay. All right, so you need about 30% of that
Yeah.
also. Okay, do you have your own funds or are you looking for the whole lot from us?
To be fair, if I could get the funds from yourselves, because I'll be building it, I'll need the cash flow to start the site, if you know what I mean. Because,
okay.
But obviously I could do either option, but the easier option for me and going forward into other deals would be for you to fund it and then...
And the build cost, so just did some rough numbers there, about £6,000 a square foot, 550 cost, which works out at about £90 a square foot. Seems very light to me for a new build, but are you confident in that figure?
Yeah, and I could probably get the numbers down again. Not much more, but I could squeeze them numbers a bit more with materials as well, because I'm in and out of builders merchants every day, so I can get these materials right down low. Obviously, they still got to make their profit margins, but...
What are your comparables for? I'm trying to assess kind of how realistic the GDV is. What are your comparables on these?
Right, well, what I've done, I've spoke to 3 different estate agents. They've given me 3 separate numbers, so I've basically gone in the middle with it. I've also looked at, they've sent me what they've actually sold. So they have sold a 3-bed bungalow for 300,000 in the last couple of months. So I was like, okay, that's comfortable there. And that's where I've built the price from that then, basically.
Okay, great.
Wales is selling quite well. It's going, as John probably knows anyway.
And who do you see the target market being for? Obviously it's bungalows. Do you see that as kind of older people, or do you see it as families, or?
Both, realistically. It could be like an older couple that's going to downgrade to the 3-bed.
Yeah.
And obviously a family could live on the end, the 5-bed. It's a nice little estate. To the side of it is an old people's home, like a caring home.
How much of your time will you be able to divide to building these sites? Because
all of it.
Are you sure? Because
yes.
If this takes how long to build? 12 months?
This is a 12-month project. 18 months.
You won't have any cash flow
selling.
for 12 months, and probably another 6 months after that. So, do you have enough personal cash flow to manage yourself cash flow wise for 18 months?
Because
if you have to stop.
Well, yeah, because I've obviously got other jobs coming on now. Obviously, got this big development starting in 2 weeks' time.
That's what I mean. So you're going to not do those? You said you did this full
slightly
time?
different setup with that. All the materials paid for on that. Yeah. I just rock up and do the job because I'm working alongside the investor. Yep. I've done a renovation for him already.
How long will that take to do?
The renovation's a week away from finishing.
Oh, right.
So we'll be starting his office space in London.
And how long will that take?
That's a 9-month project, but I'm looking to expand out. This is why I'm here as well.
You see, what worries me is that it's like all of us really. We're all considered small companies, and it's the one if it's they all want to speak to Nicholas, or they want to speak to Helen, or they want to speak to me, they want to speak to Ranjan, Paul, and yourself, and take you out of that because you're busy 200 miles away. And the whole thing can get a bit...
I won't be... I said, my focus will be on this. I'll be a project managing between 2 sites, but I've got some fantastic boys working for me.
No, that's fine.
And they can more than...
I wish you'd price the 9 flats, 6 flats and 3 houses we're doing in Cardiff, because I tell you what, come out a lot more than your figures, and that's just a conversion. But anyway.
I'll definitely be speaking to you about our next conversion.
Nicholas?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. I don't think you fully answered Ranjan's question about the build costs. At sort of in 100,000, a bungalow is extremely light. I appreciate you can do all the groundworks and that cheaply, but with materials as they are, have you got any more detail around that figure? Have you had a QS report done for?
The QS report come in high, so I went out myself and went specifically into builders merchants and go, right, what are you going to charge me?
Okay.
I've got all the lists of materials and going, right, this
Okay.
is what I want.
Great.
This is the price. It's roughly coming in at around about 60 to 65,000 per bungalow.
The labour, who you know?
My boys, everyone's my boys.
So they're full time for you.
Full time on my books.
PAYE or are they?
Yes, PAYE.
They're under CIS construction industry scheme.
They're under PAYE.
PAYE.
The only person I bring in on CIS is electrician.
I'm struggling, Craig, to quantify your build costs, and I know you can. I know, over 40 odd years, I've had many builders, not always as sharp as you, or as good as you, I'm sure, say to me, "I can do this for this, John," and then we've had problems. And my worry is that the build cost price is just so low. I know it's Wales, and I'm not being rude to Wales, but I think labour is probably cheaper than it is in London and so on, and it's cheaper to live in Wales.
I'd just like to say there, I've tried to keep the cost at such a point, because I'm going to be making money on the back end of this deal.
No, and
I'm keeping it to the point where I'm just about making money on the front end.
Yeah,
obviously, through my experience of pricing jobs up over the last year, 18 months now.
And I'm absolutely delighted that you've taken that attitude. It's brilliant, and it's very refreshing. But that's really my own concern. But let's just go around and see what everyone else thinks. So, Paul, what's your view on it?
Well, yeah, look, as we've discussed, usual price per square foot for a new build is about £200 a square foot at the moment. So I get obviously there's at least 30% in that for you, but I struggle to see how there's 60% in that for you. I know you've really tried to drive it down, but if it is £200, let's say it's 180 a square foot, that wipes out the profit. So that's the difficulty I'm having with the numbers.
I can appreciate what you're saying on that. I genuinely can, but obviously through my experience, and obviously I would not put that on the piece of paper if I didn't.
I'm not questioning your integrity whatsoever.
That's honestly, I've looked at these numbers for over a year now, and I've got it down to a point where I'm comfortable putting on a piece of paper and bringing it in front of you.
If it turns out you actually can't do it for this for whatever reason, then you're going to be quite upset about that, because it's going to start eating into your returns.
I have no doubt that I can do it for that price. Okay. That's obviously.
Well, I will just say that I think you're incredibly investable. This is just not my bag.
No,
and that's the only reason why I'm
out. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
To the project, apart from money.
Very, very investable. Love to do something with you, especially in Wales.
Definitely.
But I think on this one, I'm just gonna step away from it. My biggest worry you're going to have is with the bank not believing you. Now that sounds crazy, but a bank will get a QS in and go, oh, well, it's going to be this much.
Yeah.
And so funding it on that basis could be a bit tricky.
What it is that then
if I fail, they got to get somewhere else in.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
They've got
exactly.
to price it on a full cost.
And you're on the ball, you know the score. So
yeah.
But thank you for coming in today, but this one's not for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
For me, Craig, I'd love to work with you. I think you're aware of that.
Definitely, yeah.
I can definitely help you with this, but it's not an investment for me today.
That's fine.
I don't think I can earn enough return from it, but if you want to look me up again after this, if you need some help,
yeah, definitely.
I can definitely help you with it in other ways. So yeah,
that's great. Yeah,
happy to continue the conversation offline.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, I'm with the guys on this one. It's not for me today, but I really want to watch what you do, how you get on with this. So not for me today, but I'm really keen to watch how you get on.
Appreciate that.
So Craig, thank you so much for coming. I do really appreciate it, as we all do. And please do come back as well. That's the other thing I would say. And I'm sure, now we've all met you. Nicholas knew partly already. Then I'm sure there'll be business to be done outside the room, if not in the room next time.
100%.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thanks.
Thanks, Craig.
I think that's the most impressive guy I've seen that did not get an offer.
Yeah.
I just really frustrating, because I think I've been in the situation so often when, when you know, over the years when builders have said they can do this for that and everything else. And, you know, he's so determined, and I'm sure he would do it, but it would be out of his own money to make it work rather than, so not to let you down. And that's not what we're about. We're not about trying to rip people off. None of us are, or ever have been, I know. And I just felt that I could have said yes very easily, as I'm sure we all could have done really to the deal. But I just felt I'm actually probably doing him a disservice by saying yes, almost.
So Craig, how did we get on?
Unfortunately, I didn't get the deal.
Okay.
But it was a great experience, and I'm honoured to be here. So yeah, I'm not too disheartened by it all. I'll still continue with the deal. They obviously didn't like the fact that the development cost was a little bit lower and a little bit tighter than they would like it to be. Obviously, if the QS was to look at it, or the banks, then they might not actually accept it. So that was the only reason, really. I had some good feedback from them all.
Good.
And I'm just glad I've been here. So.
Good, so you're going to continue on with the deal then?
100%, yeah, 100%.
Excellent. All right, well, good luck.
Thank
you so much for coming.
Thank
and keep in touch, and I'm sure there'll be more deals to be done in the future with them all.
We will be doing, yeah, you'll be seeing me again, I'm sure.
Good, hope so. Well, what an amazing first day we've had here. Commercial to residential seems to be a really popular strategy, and the Angels have loved it. That's all we've got time for today. We'll see you next time on Property Elevator.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.